As I mentioned yesterday, all these fine folks were here at UUCA singing this repertoire by Jason Shelton. Sadly, Jason couldn't stay with us this morning, which we found out later in the week, so Reverend Strauss and I decided to split the sermon time, but keep Jason's title, The Faith We Sing. So last Sunday, I was honored and humbled by Reverend Strauss's kind words about my 11-year anniversary here at UUCA. And I was reflecting on my time here and this title, The Faith We Sing, and thought I would focus on the we part, the music that we have been making for the last 11 years or so, a journey that we continue to thrive upon and enjoy the fruits of our collective musical labor. This congregation sings really well, and that is not just my super biased opinion. I hear from people all the time, people who have just started coming here, and even more so from UUs visiting from other congregations, that we just sing really well. I used to attribute it to our space in the round, in our last building on Cliff Valley Way, that in the round, there's no back, right? And everybody can see you, and so you may as well just sing. But here we are, in an office park with these low ceilings and these acoustic tiles that are specifically made to kill sound. That's their job, and we still sing great. So I believe that the success that we've found is because of a balance between familiar hymns and unfamiliar things, sometimes two at the same time. It allows us to sink our teeth into this new, tricky stuff when we feel comfortable with the things we're singing. We also have a safe place to express ourselves where people do not judge each other on the quality of sound, but enjoy the group expression of music making. Hymn singing is not about beauty. It's about participation and vibe and energy. We don't have 100% participation in hymn singing, but it's pretty close. So 11 and a half years ago, when I was down here from Michigan for my very first interview, I wanted to see a service to see if I wanted to work here. And I was told I could come, but I couldn't say I was a part of the music director search. I was just Don, random visitor. So at the beginning of the service, Travis led a couple of hymns, and I was singing along. And then during the greeting, I was sitting kind of up towards the top of the sanctuary at Cliff Valley, and a longtime UUCA member, Mary Sherman, was sitting right in front of me. Mary passed away last year. And right after the greeting, she turned around and said, "Hi, you should join the choir." It's a good idea. I think I said, "I'd like that." I think that was my response. So fast forward a few months. I was hired as UUCA's first ever full-time music director. And I drove right into planning music, and everyone gave me a lot of leeway and goodwill. It was like 10 Sundays in when someone came up and said, "Don, we really love all the energy you're bringing in all of this new music, but it would be nice to sing a familiar hymn every so often." And I said, "Great, so what are the familiar hymns?" I didn't know. No one had told me. I did try a lot of new things and brought my own high-energy vibe to the beginning of services, but the biggest change didn't come from me. It came from our UUCA musicians. When I started, one of the first things I did was send out a survey to the congregation, and on Friday, I searched through my email and found it. It said as follows: "Calling all musicians, actors, singers, and artists, we know that there are many gifted individuals of varied talents, ages, and levels here at UUCA. Now we want a better picture of our artistic community. Please leave a note or email our new music director, Donald Milton III, letting him know who you are, what you do, how proficient you are, and if you'd be willing to perform for a service or event at UUCA." I'm going to send this out again next week. So, you people. It's not the best written survey, but it worked. I heard from dozens of singers, actors, laughter yoga instructors. There was only one of those, but it's still cool. A lot of artists, and very interestingly, from a bunch of rock musicians. Woo! Before I got here, most of the music at UUCA was classical. on Sunday mornings, with some folk music here and there. Occasionally the choir would sing some world music. What I learned from the survey was that we had a few super talented classical musicians in the space and a wealth of rockers. So we expanded the music that we were doing on Sunday, not because of a big plan I came in with or because I decreed it from upon high, but because we tapped into the talents in the room. We also tapped into some UU weirdness. If you're new to the whole UU thing, here's something you should know. UUs are generally pretty weird. I always use weird as a compliment. Always. People in this room are passionate about a lot of different and varied things, some of them very niche, and it truly adds to the vibrancy in this community. We just brought a little bit of that weirdness into our Sunday mornings. And not everyone liked it. I remember one Sunday early on in my time, we closed the service with a rousing version of Lean on Me. We're going to close with it again today. And the room was all excited and buzzing. It felt really good. And this person came up and they said, Don, our congregation has a long history of doing classical music here. And I don't want us to only do this new contemporary music on Sundays. And I thanked them for checking in. I told them we would continue to do great classical music and do a lot of other things as well. What I wanted to point out was that Lean on Me was written in 1972, which is 12 years before I was born. And so you can't call that contemporary, right? Bach was contemporary once. So in truth, there are still people in this congregation and every congregation everywhere who think that we should do classical music only every Sunday morning. And there are people in this congregation and every congregation everywhere that believes we should do rock music every single Sunday morning, or contemporary music written after 1972. And there is nothing wrong with those opinions. We have many varied opinions, but I believe it is a rather tall bell curve, right? Where the people up here in the middle are those who like the wild variety that we get to experience on Sunday mornings in this space. Even Earth, Wind, and Fire and a classical piece already this morning. I joke with my friends and brag, really, that I can program Bach and Bob Marley on the same morning. I say that because I did once. I programmed Bach and Bob Marley on the same Sunday morning here. You know, when I came back from my summer break, the first service, our How to Be a Boo service, we did Kanye West and Tracy Chapman, and the next week we did Lady Gaga and Mendelssohn. And I love that noise. That makes me so happy. And I think that when I first got here, we also talked about splitting the services, having a classical service early and a contemporary service late. And I hate that because everyone should hear the cello. Everyone should hear the cello. Everyone should hear the Kanye West. It's really important to the vibrancy of our community for all of that to happen. The faith that we sing is a varied one. It is as varied as we are. Our faith tradition is broad, and we are at our best when the rhythms that move us are as different as we are. If at a restaurant, everyone thinks everything on the menu is pretty good, the food is probably boring. Let's keep serving up music that is spicy, that is bright, that is complex and meaningful and consistently excellent. If something doesn't work for you, and it won't sometimes, it just might be the highlight of the service for somebody else. Let's continue to embrace our differences, embrace our weird, and keep singing our marvelously varied faith. Thank you.